Welcome to the Fans Have Spoken. We're back after a big break from Thanksgiving. I'm here with Denny, who we haven't seen forever, Robbie, and Kevin. Thank you guys for joining. We have two castaways to talk about tonight. The Queen Shan and her sidekick Liana, the dynamic duo that couldn't make it to the final two. How you guys feel? I know we've talked about Shan probably every episode more than we have the person that actually got voted out. So I'm sure you guys have a lot to talk about. Let's kick it off. What do you got? How do you guys feel? Because both of these players did really well pre-merge. Once they got to the merges where we kind of saw their games spiral a little out of control, where do you guys think that they kind of went wrong?
Shan hadn't eaten food, man. Shan hadn't eaten food in a long time, and then it just ruined her everything.
Hangry.
She
got hangry.
See, I think she got a taste of like being in control and being, in charge of a blind side, and just I think that was exhilarating for her. And then she wanted that control through the rest of the game. And then her game, I feel, crumbled when she really wasn't listening to Deshawn.
Interesting, because interestingly enough, on her exit press lately, I've been listening to it because we had a little bit of a break. She said that she feels like her game was ruined when she started listening. She said that she didn't want Tiffany, and she gave him Tiffany. She didn't want Nasir. She gave her card Nasir. She said that if she had kept bulldozing like she had been doing, essentially, then she doesn't think that she would be in the position that she was in, which I think is pretty interesting.
I did hear her say that as well, but I still just think because her alliance, I feel like they were strong. I feel like they really did have good intentions of going to the end together, the four of them. Mm-hmm. But when Deshawn was not feeling heard, and regardless of whether she was listening or wasn't, he did not feel like he was being heard. And he expressed that to her, and she would say, "I hear you." And then in the next sentence, she'd be like, "So this is what I'm thinking we're going to do."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear what you guys are saying. I have a slightly different take on it. I feel like really it was a long fuse that was lit when she met Liana on the island. I think the relationship that she built with Liana was real. I think it was true. It was heartfelt. And like I said, I think it lit a long fuse that she just didn't see coming. And when the moment came where Shan had to pull the trigger on separating herself from Ricard, whether she wanted to or not, that's where a lot of people wanted to go. And the snake that Ricard is. Liana won. He could have just kept the power, kept Shan safe, got Ricard out, apologized to Shan, but kept her safe. Shan's in the game. You're in the game. You're both good. Liana broke down with the emotional bomb right away because she didn't want to lie to Shan. Just lying to Shan was too much to get Ricard out. And then Shan doubled down on the emotional aspect of being on the island and went to Ricard, and once again emotionally broke down, started crying, didn't want to lie to him. And Ricard even said to her face, "I'm shocked that you're even telling me this." And when you're being honest with somebody and they're a snake in the game because you've worked with them, you've seen them manipulate, and they look you in the eye and say, "I am shocked that you're giving me this information," man, like you have to be hearing the explosion catching up to you from behind. Like you got to start running in a different direction immediately. And I feel like Shan was just so hungry, tired, out there that the strategic part was gone. She was riding pure emotion at that point. And the irony too is one of the strongest emotional bonds that Shan had was in that core 4 alliance, which if she would have stayed loyal to it, then she would have survived that episode at least.
Well, it's so interesting because she wanted to run it down to 5. So says her exit press. She wanted to run it down to 5 with Ricard being number 5, right? That was her plan. And that's what she wanted to do. But like, it's tough when you think about voting because she says Deshawn's name. And that's enough. That's the little piece that Ricard needs because Ricard's not even in danger at that point. Yeah. And he's like, let's flip it on Shan now because by you saying Deshaun's name, Deshaun's probably going to run with us. And if he's going to run with us, we can get rid of you this way, and then I don't have to worry about it.
Well, I don't think Ricard.
Sorry, go ahead, Frank.
I don't think Ricard 100% was committed to voting her out, and because I think it's when she pulled Deshaun off the front burner and was like, "Let's put him on the back burner," to not make that move yet. That's when he's like, "Well, I got to go after her. If she's not going to go, I think if she would have been 100% towards Deshaun when Ricard was safe that round and he was the target, I think if she would have been 100% that way, then he would have." But that was never came at her later.
But that was never in the plan, right? Because she said I wanted the 5 to be the 4 plus herself plus Ricard. So that's why Deshaun had to come off the front burner, because if Ricard is saying let's fry up Deshaun, she's like, let's not do that after all. Now that I'm less initially angry, let's take him off, put him on the back. Let's think about Erica, because I've been saying Erica's name for like 4 days and no one's listening to me. Or let's think about Heather, because I've been saying Heather's name for like 3 days and no one's listening to me. Or Xander, who has an idol still. And Ricard's like, those are all the people I want to work with, bro. So that's not going to work for me.
And I'm curious, too, because we've seen a lot of the same pattern with Ricard, where when somebody gets close or even might get close to Shan, he's kind of axed it, right? Right from the Ua tribe, anybody who wanted to work with Shan was gone. And when we got to see towards the end, and I know it was edited, I believe, in Erica's favor to show that it was her idea. But I'm curious if Ricard, in the back of his mind, was trying to get it so that, once again, Shan's closest ally other than him, Liana, went out. And it went all the way to the point in that episode where it went to a tie between – and I wonder, like I said, we're probably not going to find out until the season's over if Ricard actually wanted Shan to go out in that episode and if he just couldn't get that extra Liana vote. But, I mean, he voted for – Shan to go, but I can't remember in the initial vote if his vote was for Liana or if it was for Shan, or if it was just in the revote that it was for Shan. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
I think Ricard's good enough that if he's gonna flirt with going after her, he's gonna fully commit.
But that's what I mean, because he could have destroyed the core 4 by getting rid of Liana. Do you know what I mean? Like, that group of 4 could have already been scrambling at that point. Even if Liana, like, with either of them going home, it was a success for Ricard, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Ricard,
I don't know.
Back to what you were saying, Robbie, about Shan and Liana going on that walk together, because that was a huge turning point. I feel like in the beginning,
in
like
the whole game,
merged,
the whole game.
Yeah, because in the beginning, Shan was able to really separate how she felt about people and game, and she would just, people were like, giving her a lot of crap because she's a pastor and she was playing the game the way she was, which is ridiculous if you ask me.
Yeah, but that's what I loved about
her. She was playing the game. Like, that's the thing, that she was just playing the game.
Right, exactly. But she was able to make these moves and take these people out. I mean, she lied straight to JD's face, like no issues around it. But I feel
Remember Brad?
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like getting to this point in the later in the game, she has a strong bond with Ricard. She has a very strong bond with Liana, and I do feel like her emotions got the best of her at right before she got voted off.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to what Kevin said. She was hungry. She was playing on a 6-person tribe. Being a 6-person tribe, as long as she was on a 6-person tribe, that's going to burn you out. You're going to be even
worse, though.
And then you're trying to communicate with some people that have not even had to play the game at all.
Well, not even just that. Something I hadn't even thought about was that, remember, every time they lost, he took their flint, and they lost a lot. So they didn't even have fire to make food. So she went multiple days without eating anything substantial other than papaya. And then she gets to the merge, you're like, okay, at least I'm gonna get this merge feast. Psych, no merge feast for you, fam. Psych. Oh man. Okay, well, at least I have fire to eat some of this fish, maybe? Oh, that's right, Jeannie caught all the fish. I forgot about that part. So we ain't got no fish. Because Nasir's over here eating happy, so he ain't fishing. So ain't no reason, no food here. Okay, maybe we'll win the next challenge. Oh, it's the same team and we lost again? Still no food. And then when she finally gets some food, from what I understand, she got sick because she hadn't eaten in like 4 days, 7 days, something like that. So
yeah,
what
on
can
the
you
Sears
do?
Tribe, he probably has like a vegan option at every meal also. Like, that's how good they had it with Nasir. Let's be honest.
You know what? Something I want to throw out too a little bit is there's 2 points in that episode that really caught me off guard with, just the way people react when you watch the show. You're like, oh my God, that's a red flag. How do you not see that? Like when for example, Danny goes to Liana and really just wants to get Liana to say Ricard's name. And he's like, Liana, there's somebody who's really taking control of this game, who's really got a strong chance of winning. And Liana goes,
Shan.
First name?
No,
Shan?
no, not Shan. Erica. No.
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 So really,
Ricard?
Exactly. So what Liana's doing is Liana's naming the people that she's like realizing like in her mind, like these are the people that I'm starting to work with.
Yes.
And Danny's gotta be sitting there thinking like, wait, whoa, you think?
Oh no, I saw it. I saw it as she was naming the people that she thought were actual threats. Because she does not really see Ricard as a threat. Because she's like, Ricard's with us.
And then, so then you follow that forward, and I think Danny really wanted to stick strong with that alliance. And we don't get a lot of Danny in the edit, which I don't know why, but like we do, but not a lot of the strategic play. A lot of it's more of the emotional stuff, and maybe it's just his monotone voice. Maybe I just don't remember it as much. Maybe
we don't get a lot. We don't get a lot of Danny, but I don't know that Danny's not doing much more than being an honest dude.
Well, and this is what I'm getting at. So at Tribal Council, where Shan eventually goes out after the tie and the revote, we get a moment where Danny, after hearing Shan give her speech and everybody's kind of giving their spiel about loyalty and I want to work with my people and yada, yada, yada. Well, Danny says point blank, I think there's somebody here who doesn't realize that the people they think they're working with aren't working with them. And he's like, and I know it's a vague statement, but just the way, like, of all people, of Danny to say it after these speeches have been said, I feel like he was trying to throw a bone to Shan to be like, just be paranoid and play your freaking idol. Just do it. Like, I feel like he was trying to throw a bone there, but obviously it didn't.
But I don't know that he wanted Liana to go also.
Yeah, it's hard to say, right? This is where I mean, like, after the show is over, we're gonna get a lot more of this content.
Because he knew there was a split. He knew there was a split, so I don't think that he wanted Shan to play it, because then Liana goes instead.
Well, and you have to ask yourself, then really comes down to one of two things. Was Danny just giving a generic I'm on Survivor answer? Just because he was asked a question, or who was he talking to then? Do you know what I mean?
I think he was giving like not necessarily generic, but he was answering Jeff's question. I think he
I agree.
But answers the questions very honestly.
You're basically admitting what you like. He basically admitted what he was doing. Like, he didn't just say. Like, most people would just say, "Listen, I'm going to work with the people. The last person I talked to, I'm working with you. Stay with the plan. I'm going with the plan. I trust the people I'm working with." And he's like, "No. If you think you have a plan, they're lying to you. The people you're working with are lying to you."
Yeah, his response made me nervous because, listen, I'd been wanting Shan to go for a while, and I was in a lot of group chats, and Kylie especially was like, "Denny, don't make me hurt you. That's my girl."
And I think that's crazy that you feel that way, because I feel like you love Boston Rob, and I feel like she's a female Boston Rob. And so that's why I don't.
The only reason, you guys, the only reason is because of the edit. And she admitted that she got a great edit. She got a ton of screen time, and she's very grateful to CBS for that. But I just wanted to see more from other people. So it was nothing.
But you can't blame her for that, did he? Yeah, you were coming at Shan like it was her fault. She didn't know how to edit her.
It's not her fault. It's not her fault. And I loved seeing her gameplay and her strategy. And she was super entertaining to watch. Her and Ricard definitely have stolen the entire show, I feel like. But I'm like, okay, I'm kind of done with the Shan show. She'll be back for another season. But right now, I want to learn some more about these other players and see their strategy and what they're doing. Because there has to be some strategy that we're not seeing. So, I know, unpopular opinion, but I was happy.
Yeah, but
wait. With this blind.
We did say that in some of these breakdowns, where because of the fact we weren't getting Ricard's angle on a lot of the moves, we were getting a lot of, like, early on, we're getting a lot of the Shan angle on stuff, and the music and her theme song and everything. But when we watched this episode, her vote out episode, there was a moment where the edit was beautifully foreshadowing because she's sitting there. She does her. Like,
that was great.
And then
Heather says, "Hey, what are you humming over there?
Exactly.
What are you humming over there?"
And I'm thinking, like, man, like in hindsight, that is such a perfect foreshadow because it's like, listen, she's over there doing her scheming and got caught, and that's exactly what happens in this episode.
But she didn't really get caught because Heather's like, "What's that sound?" And she's like, "Oh, it's a song."
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it wasn't as smooth and secret as Shan would have thought. And, you know, she goes to her card later on trying to be smooth and literally asks him, like, "You're not going to go tell people, are you?" And he's like, no, I just need to think about it. My hands are shaking. And then he goes and gets her out.
But Robbie, speaking to what you said a minute ago, though, about Danny and what Danny is doing, I think back to when Tiffany asked him, "Is it me?" And he said, "Possibly." He just is an honest dude. And I don't know that he is one to like lie to you, which is why I think that was less gameplay, more just a genuine dude he is. Because like Tiffany asked him to his face, she wasn't working with him. And he's like, "Possibly, could be you tonight. Yeah. Who knows?"
And if you're a brain like I think Deshaun is. Like, no wonder you latch onto a guy like that, right? And he was funny. He even says it. I'm going to support you 100% with that argument because he said at the same tribal, or was it? No, sorry, the next tribal. He says, "You know what? If you got a plan, put your name on it. Take credit for it. Say what you want to do, and take a beating if it goes wrong or whatever." I'm paraphrasing, but I'm like,
yeah.
That's not how you play.
But I think Danny is way too honest.
Yeah, I think it's just who he is. I think it's just who he is, and I mean. He's a professional athlete. I think they're
all honest, right?
Well, no, I think that like you are like you're honest with your teammates. You're telling your teammates what's going on. So he's telling his team what's up, and he's just out there playing a game. I would not want Danny to be like my partner in a game because I don't know if we're gonna be able to lie to people. I'm gonna be lying by myself. Like the cheating one of these games because Danny's gonna be like, "We can't do that, Kev." I'm like, "What do you mean we can't do that, Danny? We got to do that." That's how
if
this
Danny
game is
was
played.
Would Deshaun wouldn't be as big of a like the target if Danny was more of a sneaky
because
player.
people are like, I feel like I can trust Danny, and I feel like that's how the other people in the tribe feel like. They're like, we can trust Danny, we can't trust Deshaun, we don't know if we can. So Danny's not someone that they're worried about too much. So
how is his name not even coming up though? Can we say that?
Because he's so honest, he's so likable. Like they just like him.
Jacked, man. Like,
but he hasn't won anything.
He's going to be like, "Okay, who can bench the most?" And he's like, "Listen, guys, I'm really sorry, but just to be honest with you, you have no chance. I'm going to win this one."
I mean, even they don't know he's a professional athlete, but they know he played in college. They know he played in college. They know he played in college, and so he's not hiding that he's an athlete. Yeah. Don said that Danny is marriage material, not survivor material, and he got a little nice montage in the second episode that we watched to set up for this, like with his wife and his family and all that good stuff. Danny's just a good dude, so I think that it wasn't strategy. I think it was more so him just being honest. And Shan, it's hard. I can't fault Shan for not picking up on that because the dude's he's just telling the truth in general, so she didn't necessarily think it was directed at her. It was just that there's going to be people here that think people are working with them and they're not.
And whatever he's doing is working because normally a person like him being that likable and that physical is going to be a boot this part of the game. And I think he's in a great position going into next week. So I think him, Heather, and Xander are probably the safest out of the six in the game still. So.
I think Erica's pretty safe.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that statement.
We'll get
if
to
you
that.
Look at it, there's six people, and you got Erica and Heather that are going to stick together. You have Danny and Deshaun that are going to stick together, and then that leaves Ricard and Xander, who are the two big threats that are probably going to stick together. And
Erica's a big threat.
It's going to be a 4-2 scenario, but we don't know which way it's going to go. But whichever way it goes, I think if it goes towards Erica and Heather on the outs, Heather's safe. Erica goes home. I think if it goes towards Deshaun and Danny,
Like, is there
Deshaun
really
goes.
ever such thing as a 4-2? Like, I find it hard to believe that you're going to go down to a 4-1. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. I feel like if you're in the 4, and I don't think Ricard's going to go, but if you're in the 4, you only need 3 at this point, right? Like, you'd still be 3-2, right? So if you were in that 4 with Ricard, and
I think
Ricard
it depends
is
on
such
which way it goes.
I think he's too good. I don't think he's going to get caught. But like watching from an outside, if you're in that 4, how do you not take the next chance if he's not safe to get Ricard out, and you still have the 3-2 numbers? Do you know what I mean? Like I find it hard to believe the 4-2 will go down to 4-1.
Before we get into that, let's wrap up Shan. I got some ideas.
I agree. We're getting off topic a little bit.
Because that also depends on it. Because if Xander or if they're really tight and one of them wins immunity, the other one can use the idol.
Like I said, we're gonna get into that in a minute.
Yeah. So we talked about what they could have done better. Lux and Denny kind of started on what we loved about their game. So what was it about these two players that you love seeing throughout the season?
We haven't even mentioned Liana's name going home. Let's finish talking about Shan, because I have words about Liana. I got words. So I got a lot to say about Liana. Let's finish Shan, because I got words about Liana.
Is that what we're doing? Is we're saying what do we love about Shan's game? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
I personally thought that Shan played very well. I think that once she got to the merge, I keep talking about the food. I think the food legitimately came into play here because she was playing strong and very intelligently. And then as the merge got there, I felt what felt like desperation in her game and trying to convince these new people that she's just meeting to work with her. But also trying to keep her cards safe because he's the only one that's been with her from day one. I loved her genuine connection with Liana, and I love the fact that she wanted to explore that and go deeper with Danny and Deshaun, but she just couldn't because they had a different agenda than she did.
Yeah, I think she had to make a choice between her alliance with Deshaun, Danny, and Liana, and her alliance with Ricard, and she just couldn't choose. Like at the end of the day, I feel like she was just grappling with that so much, and it kind of put her blinders on, and she didn't see that Ricard was coming for her. I mean, awesome move on Ricard's part if he can get to the end without her, because they talked about it time and time again how eventually the day would come when they would go after each other. But yeah, I think it's I feel like Liana was a downfall for Shan, and Shan was a downfall for Liana, as close as they were. And I loved seeing their true bond and connection. I feel like without the other, they would have, either one of them would have done better in the game, I feel like.
Which I agree with that. I feel like it's a shame because I was cheering hard for both of them. I feel like it's a shame that them working together actually ended up hurting them. But we're talking about what we loved about Shan's game, and you have to give Shan credit for the fact that Shan was able to make actual alliances that voted together better than anybody else, really, in my opinion. She was part of that core group of 4. She had Ricard, which is really a tornado of destruction, and kind of stayed outside of the path. The whole Ua tribe went right down to 2 people and survived it, right? And Ricard could have easily worked with somebody else and got Shan out, in my opinion, if he wanted to. Maybe Shan could have fought back, but Shan pulled the trigger when she went up to somebody and she wanted to make an alliance or a voting block, whatever you want to call it. She did it. She opened up. She said, here, let's work together. I bonded with you. And that got information out of Liana. And that got information from Ricard. And it got, unfortunately, it ended up backfiring because when Shan got that information, and I think she was too tired and hungry to really process it strategically, that's all it was just, an inability to process the information. But up to that point where Liana actually went to Shan and said, they're trying to get Ricard out behind your back, that's a huge amount of power. Right now, she had all the information in the game, and that's a lot of credit to somebody who can get people to come to her and give her information that's detrimental to other people's, to their own game, right? So I enjoyed seeing that. I enjoyed seeing somebody actually make alliances this season. I don't feel like there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, I love that she played fearless. She wasn't afraid to play with other big players. She wasn't afraid to come on Survivor being a pastor and being a woman and giving us a lovable villain. Like, a lot of times you see when a woman plays that villain card, they get a lot of backlash. She got a little bit of backlash, but for the wide majority of fans, I think everyone loved her. I loved the theme song. I loved everything about her. I think you guys are right. She played a lot of game and was hungry and tired and couldn't keep it together. I think she's the type of player, though, that it's going to be able to watch the season back, learn, and get better. So I think if there's ever an opportunity where she plays again, I think she's going to be a killer.
And I do think we will see her again. I mean, she was so fun to watch. And like one of you said, giving her credit for making real connections with people. Because, I mean, and I think I heard her say it in one of her post-game interviews about how it wasn't based on game. Like, that's just how she is in her real life. She connects with people and she knows how to, and she wants to learn about people. So, I mean, that definitely helped her to have everyone coming to you and just feeding you all of the information. That is a lot of power in this game. Yeah. So it would have been interesting to see her take it all the way to the end. There's no way she would have lost if she made it to the finals. And she knows that. She says, no one could beat me.
Imagine day one Shan having somebody like Liana come up and give Shan all that information and the amazing confessional we would have got of this master plan that she was going to work out and how, like, we didn't get that. You know what I mean? And I agree with everything you just said. It's just such a shame that I feel like how awesome would it have been if we would have seen that emotional breakdown from Liana and then Shan goes to the camera and been like, listen, as much as I love you, I got to use that against you. I'm sorry, but I'm here to win $1 million.
I don't think she would have though. I don't know. One thing I do want to rally back against is Frank said that she's a villain. I don't think she's a villain at all. I think she's like more anti-hero than villain because
that's what I say about myself, and everyone tells me I'm a villain.
But like, no, I don't think she did anything like malicious or villainous. I think because when I think villain, I think like the Russell Hanses of the world that like want to see it burn. I feel like that Shan was trying to win, but also win her way.
There are different types of villains, I think.
I think we're going down a rabbit hole here pretty quick. Yeah. But I think
she's on the villain tribe. If there was a hero's villains, she's a villain.
Yeah.
If Ricard, here's the thing: if Ricard was
villain,
Nasir. No, let's say Ricard was Nasir. Okay, a lovable character, and Shan was trying everything she could to save Nasir when the blind side was coming. We'd be looking like, man, look at Shan trying to be a hero for Nasir, right? But because Shan is doing what she can to keep a villain in the game, right? I think Ricard's clearly a villain, right? But
Ricard's the villain,
right? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But because Shan is trying to fight to keep Ricard safe, she's associated with trying to keep evil safe. You know what I mean? Like the villain. Whereas she's like you're playing werewolf. She's like a minion. That's exactly right. But imagine if Shan had been playing this whole game with Nasir, trying to keep him safe, doing everything she could to get him in the information and everything. Because we loved Nasir's, just whole character and personality so much, I feel like we would have interpreted Shan as more of a protector and an active participant pulling the trigger to save somebody. But because she's saving, the bad guy now,
the actual bad guy,
it's kind of like, all right, bad guy saver, you must be a villain.
If you save Negan's life, you are Negan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you are Negan. Yeah, okay. I would love to see Shan play again. I don't know if it'll happen just because of so many people on the season that are, when you get towards the end of it.
Such a good cast.
Awesome
Such a good cast this season.
But, if it's one of those people that if she happens to get cast, I wouldn't be like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, where does this come from?
Yeah, I don't watch All Amazing Race, but if there was a Ricard and Shan, I'd definitely be watching that.
Liana and Shan.
No.
That'd be Liana and Shan.
Yeah, man. I'd rather see Liana and Shan.
No, I want more Ricard. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I love me some Ricard, too.
Love him.
Get Ricard and Deshaun.
Anything else we want to talk about with Shan before we move on to talk about...
I think we talked Shan ad nauseum. I think we talked Shannon.
I hope there's
for
a
like
crazy
multiple weeks.
break the hourglass twist in 3 episodes.
She gets to bring it back.
Shannon comes back. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, it's a shame. But you know what? Give her credit. She got an amazing edit this season, and she got a hell of an episode to go out. It wasn't one of those catfish episodes where it's like no idea this person's going, even though the cast knew, and then goes out. Like we saw the mayhem happening. They gave her the.
And she played a hell of a game.
Loved watching it.
Yeah. We're all fans here, and we want to see more. And
Except for Denny.
I want to see future
That's not
players
true.
aim to play like that too. So, Denny, I think she just Denny's problem. The root cause of Denny's problem is CBS not giving us 2 episodes a week of Survivor. That's the root cause. Fix that.
That is
Moving
true.
on. Denny did say that Liana's downfall might have been working with Shan so closely. What do you guys think? What is the downfall of Liana's game?
That's
Liana's
not her
where
only
could she have
downfall. That's
pivoted?
one.
Where could she have pivoted
Liana's-
maybe and gotten farther?
Liana's biggest downfall is the fact that Shan hadn't eaten. Because if Shan had ate something, she doesn't tell Tiffany about the idol situation. Xander goes home a long time before, and you just gave Xander steam to keep rolling, and she had a one-track mind, which was getting out Xander.
That
So-
was her other downfall. Her Xander obsession.
Yeah.
Like she
She has-
has been so obsessed with getting him out, and I feel like
Yep.
she had a golden opportunity to actually go to him and say, "Hey, no one would expect us to work together. Why don't we do this?" Like, why did she not do that? Especially
Because she wanted him gone.
if you guys saw that clip. I don't know if you guys saw that clip. I saw it on CBS Instagram page where it showed Xander saying, "If she knew
Yeah,
how I
little
really
crush.
felt about her."
A little bit of a crush.
Yeah. And I can respect the fact that she didn't toy with his emotions and whatnot, but I would have been like, maybe I can use this to my advantage a little. Go in,
Did she
try
know
to
that
work
in the
something
game?
out with him.
Did she know it in the
No,
game?
but she had a one-track mind.
Yeah,
Not
she
really,
did
but she had a
know.
one-track mind.
Oh,
Shan
She had a
told
one-track
her.
mind. She wanted this dude gone. She didn't care about the crush. She didn't care about none of that. This kid had to go. She needed him gone. And her downfall came before today. Right? It came before this episode.
Yeah.
Her getting real close to Shan, but her wanting to save. It wasn't even that she wanted to save her card. She just wanted Shan to know. And her telling Shan and not wanting Shan to be left in the dark kind of sealed her fate. Even though she helped save Ricard, if Ricard was vulnerable, he just was like, "We gotta get rid of her too, whatever." And so it didn't help him out. Didn't help her out.
I think something that's really important. We kind of touched on this a few times, but look at the contrast in the 3 starting tribes. You have the Luvu tribe, who was just safe the whole time because they were so dominant, and a few of those members just learned to trust each other. Do you know what I mean? And they're not as paranoid, running around freaking out.
Yeah.
Right. You had Nasir was relatively calm. You have Deshaun, you got Danny and Heather, like people who are and Erica, like they're relatively calm, not so paranoid. You have the Ua tribe, who, even though they had to go up to tribal a whole bunch, it really drove them closer together with Ricard and Shan. And when they came out, they were stronger because of it. And contrast both of those to the Yasa tribe, which from day one was a paranoia, just, hurricane. Everywhere you went, there was just
Hurricane Tiffany ripping through.
You had Tiffany going crazy.
Ripping
And here's the thing: you also had Evie going in the background, putting
Ripping
everybody
through.
against themselves. And you had somebody coming in here like Xander, who you think would be this huge target. I mean, look at the freaking guy, right? You're like, this guy's got to be a physical threat. Comes in and openly tells everybody what he's got. He's super likable, confusing to everybody. You got Voce, you got Abraham, all of these people that are just paranoia and all this stuff. So now when you have Liana goes to this island and sees Shan, and all of a sudden there's somebody that feels like a rock, something of stability for the first time. Like, who else had Liana really had there? Evie, who's going crazy, strategizing. Tiffany, who's going crazy every time anybody mentions anybody's name. And then you
Crazy
got
full
Shan.
stop.
Then you got exactly right. And then you got Shan, who says, "I've got you. I don't care. I've got you." And they come to merge. and immediately Liana's like, "Yeah, I'm with them now, and no problem. I'll use my own advantage against the tribe that knows I have it now, my old Yasa people." And just, I think the fact that they were all so paranoid in that yellow tribe in Yasa that Liana had no choice really other than to latch to whoever was going to be an anchor. And it just happened to be Shan on the island. They happened to have that really close connection, and it happened to be real. And in the end, it happened to kill them both.
I don't know that she was latching. I think she really truly connected with.
I agree. I
With
agree.
Shan.
But look at the difference between Liana, merging her gameplay with Shan's, right? Real alliance, real passion, real friendship, right? And compare that to the problem Shan has with detaching from Ricard, detaching from the other alliance, and detaching from Liana. Liana had no problem detaching from anybody for Shan.
Right.
She had none of those connections.
Tribe,
whereas Shan had she had a hard time because she had so many of those connections, right? Where Liana right away pretty much didn't have I don't think she had a choice in her mind of.
Liana said that she was extremely close to Evie. She was, according to her exit press, she was extremely close to Evie. But the plan was all along was for Evie to downplay her relationship with Evie, so that way she can get close to Xander.
Yeah.
And they could play that to her advantage. But I think you're right that once she saw Shan and then sees Danny and Deshawn and says these three look like me,
yeah,
it changes it definitely changes a lot of things.
Yeah. And they take that connection for granted. When you feel that real connection with somebody, you bond like Shan and Liana did. Shan then branches that out to Ricard, expecting that to be reciprocated, and it's not there. And
because her bond with Ricard, comparatively, and like her bond with Ricard, she wanted to be as real, not as real, but it was probably very real. But like she wanted it to be the same unwaveringness that she had with Liana. If you look at those two are unwavering to each other. Yeah. And Shan's like, and I also have Ricard here. And Ricard's like, and she's like, and so that's what happened. She's like, it's Liana and Ricard. And Ricard,
Which if I feel like if Liana, we're talking about Liana here, if Liana didn't start off in the paranoia hurricane that we said earlier in the Yasa tribe, I feel like when Liana was told we're going to get Ricard out, I don't feel like it would have been as crazy to get Ricard out. It's not even getting Shan out, right? It's not even getting Shan.
It's not even getting Shan. We're not even going for Shan here,
right?
Yeah.
And all you got to do is do the vote, and then after the vote's read and Shan looks at you, be like, "Listen, I'll talk to you when we get back to camp. I'm sorry, we'll talk when we get back to camp." Like, and then you're both on the beach, right? But it was just, yeah.
I think she just got unlucky. I think she was in a good spot if you don't have the twist that we had last night. Because with Danny being safe winning immunity, and then Deshawn being safe because of the new twist, I don't think if those two are safe that she goes home. And if she survives this one, then maybe she can work herself into something.
Yeah, but it was either her or Deshawn.
Yeah,
so I don't think she was in a good spot.
Yeah,
but she wasn't in a good spot this week, but that can change next week.
Oh yeah, of course it can change, but
because
I don't know how it's. Okay, so Deshawn goes out here. I don't know how she recovers because Xavier's still coming for her, and Danny can at least play on with Heather and Erica that he would want to stay for another vote. I'm with Denny. I think she still goes home the next time anyway. As I'm running through the numbers, I think she still goes home if she doesn't win immunity. I think she either goes here or next.
So was Xander, Danny, and Ricard still in the game? Liana's still the one that goes.
As I'm running through, because I think Heather and because Xander's safe because the idols get till 6, yeah. Idols get till 6.
Sidebar: how is he not doing that yet?
I know.
Like, how?
They're just gonna let him skate through.
Like the guy, he sits there. not even thinking. Like, he doesn't even look like he's thinking about it. He doesn't even mention it in the confessionals that make it. He's like, "Man, yeah, I got it. Whatever, I'll be fine." But
I would make
Right.
him use it.
Exactly. So
like, they're forming new voting groups every episode that he happens to weasel into, and he still feels like these random hodgepodge of people that he's voting with today are loyal enough that they're going to let him stay with an idol. It's crazy.
and so and you're right. And so he'll be safe there. Let's say Ricard wins, so he's safe. That just leaves available Erica, Heather, Danny, and Liana. And Liana's still not going to vote Danny. And Erica and I don't think Erica and Heather are voting Danny either, because I don't think Danny ever
If they're
came
like,
for
they
them.
they have to work with somebody. The groups of two have to work with somebody.
Is there any threat in the 3 men, 3 women left at that point?
Do you not think Ricard's going to have a say in this? That, like, if those 4 do end up working together, Ricard, I think it's going to be Ricard versus Erica on which strategy gets played.
Erica considered going against him now, though.
In the end,
That's what we're seeing. I mean,
yeah.
that's what we're seeing.
Well,
You gotta
but-
see
I
results
agree.
as,
We have to
like,
go based on what we see. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all we can go by. And Erica
what we see
considered
results of, not confessionals. You can
no confessionals. You gotta use that too. They didn't have a confessional of Heather saying let's go for. They said to Erica, and Erica was like, "It's an option."
Of course, but
It's
she's
an
a
option
strategist,
here.
so if you're a strategist on Survivor and you're doing confessionals, you're gonna run through every strategy that's in front of you. and
I'm just saying though, I
strategize
don't think Danny is on the like you were talking about front burner and back burner. I think you keep trying to put Danny on the front burner, but I don't think anyone else is. I think they like Danny's honesty and his likability, and he only won this one immunity.
Yeah, you
and he
like
hasn't,
that,
like, done
who you gotta
great.
Sit next to it, Liana or Danny, who you want to sit next to at the end?
Liana.
Exactly.
I don't know.
That's why you voted up?
man.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'd rather
Liana
stick
has
with Danny in the end because he's not.
yeah. Liana
he's
has
not gonna outtalk you.
fans.
Yeah.
Right. Liana has friends on the jury. And she has a great ally in Shan. I would rather sit next to Danny because physicality is not the only reason I got. You can't just rely on that. I would have, if I'm Erica, I would have used strategies and I would have been the one to get out. Ricard, the biggest person to get out was Shan.
Danny
who
hasn't
Ricard got
made
out.
as many missteps as Liana. Liana has made missteps. Danny has not made missteps. Hasn't he voted with the majority every time?
I don't know, but we also
Well,
don't see him
besides-
making as many strategic moves.
Yeah, he's
or
a part of. I
attempting
mean,
to, but that could also
Yeah,
be
Heather's-
it.
He also
Heather's
tried to get
made
Ricard out and failed. And like
Yeah,
can't-
so
he
I don't-
can't- he
yeah.
can't get that to work, right? And I think Danny's playing a
You're right.
fantastic for a guy who, like I said, once again, similar to Xander, for people who physically, stereotypically, when you play this game, you're like, man, I do not want to be going against those physiques in the final 4 challenge. You know what I mean? Or in the final 5 challenge. Like I don't want to be down to like I have a 1 in 5 chance and I've got a huge brainy person and a huge physical person there with me. I want the average Joes with me as quickly as I can when it gets down to the final 5. You know what I mean?
well, it's
And-
funny you say that because
but they're
him
bringing
not
the
winning,
brains and the physicality with them, right? Like
Danny looks like popcorn muscles right now. They just look like him. Like we all know what he's capable of, right? We know he's a professional athlete.
yeah.
But if I'm on the island and I'm like, this dude can't win nothing. Like I've watched him lose.
I mean, he
Time and time-
finally
too.
did.
Right. But I've watched him lose with Xander and Ricard often. I watched like Nasir was a beast earlier. Like I've watched these 3 beat this professional athlete that I don't know the professional athlete at this point. Yeah, no, Frank, I'm sorry, bro. I think I'm keeping Danny and I'm getting rid of Liana at that point.
But how much?
See,
do you
I
guys
would
think,
rather
though-
sit. I
Go
would
ahead,
want to
sorry.
sit next to Danny. If I had the choice between Danny and Liana, I'm gonna sit next to Liana because I do think that she's really great with her words, but she did try to make moves and failed. And Danny, I just feel like has more likability and charm, and his story is gonna win people over with like the emotions. I feel like at Final Tribal, so I would rather sit next to Liana.
But
If
moving forward,
if
though, do you guys think that, like right now, like I said, you're getting down? Was it final sixes left, right?
you're 6,
And
we're 6, yeah.
when it comes to getting Leon out, and this episode kind of plays into it, you're getting down to the numbers are so small now that pairs are so incredibly powerful, and that Danny and Deshawn as a pair, even if Deshawn wins immunity or is safe for some reason, like Deshawn being a part of that, machine that is that duo, that's a huge threat, right? I mean, that's two votes right now in that group, similar to Heather and Erica. And I never would have thought that I would say maybe Heather would get voted out at this point in the game, because I feel like that'd be a great person to sit beside, just based on the lack of I don't know, agency or control that I feel Heather's had. It'd be an easy argument,
Right.
but she might go just because she's in a voting duo with Erica. Do you know what I mean? And like, if you're Ricard, you got to be really worried about people walking around in duos now. That's unless you can pick them against
if you're
each other.
Ricard, if you're Ricard and you're Xander, who are you going? Which way are you going to go to pitch your idea? Are you going to Deshawn and Danny, or are you going to try and stick with Heather and Erica still?
Oh, both.
Both?
Oh yeah, no. If I'm Ricard, right? If I'm Ricard, like I'm accepting, but the person that will do it better would be Xander. Xander is far more efficient at looking you in the face. Like, yeah, you know what? I 100% agree. Like, he's the biggest threat, or she's the biggest threat. We got to make a move. They've won all these things, and then going and doing a confessional and being like, yeah, of course I'm going to agree, but I'm not doing it. Whereas Ricard gives these looks like, I got to think.
He's extremely. Robbie, you talked about it a couple of weeks ago. He's extremely expressive.
Yes. Yeah.
On his face, so you could kind of just tell where he's leaning based on his facial expressions in terms of like, does he believe you, does not believe you. Well, no. So a few weeks ago, Robbie mentioned how, because he's hard of hearing in one of his ears, he's reading more emotion, so he's watching people. But I've noticed that because he's watching people, he is also more expressive. So if you're like, I don't think we should go that way, he's like, he like makes a visible
Are you
face.
guys sure? Yeah, but are we sure? I'm going to have to start watching now to make sure that he's not going like, okay, you said that, I'm hard of hearing. No,
I think I hear what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? I'm going to start
intended with that comeback here, but I hear what you're saying. I feel like Kevin said, we've mentioned it before, where he relies, and he said it in a lot of his confessionals, or a couple of them at least, where the body language is what he reads. Reading lips, reading body language, and like I said, being raised around that community for a portion of my life, I do know that you reciprocate that body language when you're communicating back. It becomes how you communicate, right? It's not just the verbal and using sign language or whatnot, but it's also your expression. And like Kevin's saying, I feel like that's out there for people to see, but I just don't feel like other people
might even be giving off what he wants the others to see. He might be going for a certain reaction too.
I get what you're saying, Robbie. What I meant is, like, we are seeing it in the way that it's like the camera is zooming in on his expression. We are seeing the look that he's giving, but I don't know if the other people are kind of honing in on that.
Yeah, the only two exceptions I agree with that, but the only two exceptions I would say is like when we had the full shot, the two shot of having Shan and Ricard on the screen where they were arguing over the extra vote, and Ricard's face was like just like so expressive. Like, are you really doing this right now? Are you really asking me? Like, and then again today when Shan says, they want to go after you, but I'm not doing it, and then he's like, I'm just shocked that.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like if you said that to
so
Deshawn, I feel like if you said it to Deshawn, he might give a smirk or something. But or Xander, even better. You could say that to Xander, and Xander would just look like he's thinking, and in his head he's thinking, "Holy shit, did they just say that to me? I can't believe they just said that to me." And like, "Oh wow, no, thanks for coming to me. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, who should we, like just stays right?" And obviously, Liana couldn't control her reactions to information either, because we saw that in this episode. So.
I don't know that she couldn't control her reactions to information, because in the episode where Shan goes, she controls her reactions to Danny and Deshawn, but to Shan, she's just very open and honest about all the stuff. And even this episode, she was able to control her reactions to Danny and Deshawn the night when they got out Shan. After
I don't
she,
know. Like, I don't know, man. Like, you look at how Deshaun approaches people. Obviously, he's had his mistakes too. But you know how Deshaun pulls people aside and says, I just want to get, clear the air here a little bit. I don't feel like I'm being listened to, or I just want to clear the air. I didn't mean to do this, or we got to do this. And then you have Liana goes back and is saying, like, I'm left out of the vote. I need to know why. Why was I left out of the vote? That's all I care about. That's all I care about, which is a much different energy to bring to a, you know what I mean?
But once they explained it, like, she came in hot. I'm not gonna lie, she came in hot. But then, as they explained it, she's telling the camera, I don't know these motherfuckers for 1 second. But to them, they were like, okay, that suffice. That answer suffice. She bought it, and so that's. But like initially, you're right. She came in like, why did you leave me out of this vote? What happened here? Now this was dumb. We're now down in the numbers.
Yeah.
But she was able to play it off, and then Denny's like, hey, I think that went well.
Yeah, and you see the contrast, right? It's always good to contrast some of the contestants here. Like, you have Liana doing that, and then you have Deshaun does something similar, right? Where he's like, why did my name get thrown out there as being the snake and all this stuff? But then afterwards, he goes and does a confessional and was like, you know what? I don't think I approached that the best way. So he sees that.
He recognized it. Yeah, he recognized
Liana
it.
did the same thing, right? Maybe Liana, but I didn't feel that in the episode that she had any regret or in hindsight, thinking maybe I shouldn't have come in that hot. Whereas Deshaun would go do damage control now and go sit with people and be like, listen, I'm sorry I came in so hot. I was a little, I was hungry and I was tired and I was surprised.
Deshaun's a little older too. He's got a little more life
Leona's
experience
20. Leona's 20.
That's a very,
Yeah. So I think for her age, I think she did really well. I think her game really shined in the challenges. That's where when she was on her original tribe, she was one of the anchors I felt in them maybe not going to tribal over UA at the time. Yeah. But where do you guys think that her game really shined?
Challenges.
I think
I agree.
Challenges. I think it was challenges, and I think it was her. Like, you two think that her relationship with Shan was bad for her. I think the fact that she had someone that she felt like she could be genuine with, because even her telling Shan wasn't the hard part. It was the part where Shan used the information and wanted to save her card, but she just didn't want Shan left out because she had someone that she felt like she could trust implicitly. And I feel like that was a real strength of hers, that she has. When you have Denny and Deshaun, like Heather and Erica, like they're people, they have someone that they feel like they can trust with all the things. And if you have a person you feel like you can trust with all the things, it helps strengthen your game.
Do you think if she would have tried to have that relationship with Xander that he would have, since he had a crush on her apparently, do you think he would have been that person for her? Because they're both young, they could have related on that.
Yeah, but that part's irrelevant though, right? Because, and I say it's irrelevant because she wanted him gone since Yasa. Like, she wanted him gone for so long, since like day 5, that there's even before that. She wanted to vote him over Voce.
Yeah.
So she wanted him since day 4. Like, there was
scared
never
to fall
a
in
time.
love with him. That was probably what it was.
Get out of here, Frank.
Scared to fall in
I'm
love.
dead. This is.
I think honestly though, I think the best thing for Xander's game is that he hasn't found that Liana, or he hasn't found that Shan and Ricard duo. And I think it would have been again because he looks right now like a lone wolf who people can work with. And that might be the only thing that's saving his ass from being a bigger target than he is. So
yeah, he's definitely shining. But where do you think Liana shined? Anywhere else other than the physical side? Because I think we saw her ability to connect with people, but like we said, she's young. I think when she gets older, if she were to come back, she might be able to fake those connections a little more. Because I think
she
the more
pulled the trigger
adulting
on a
you
few
do,
things.
the better you get at faking the genuine relationship.
I think one of those things that when you watch the show, you wonder, why wouldn't somebody do this? Why would somebody do that? You talk about it, but you don't do it. At least Liana, did some stuff. Like, when she had to go look through someone's bag, she actually did it. You know what I mean? How many people would chicken out and be like, no, you do it. No, you do it. And I'm not going to do it. Let's not do it. Okay, we're not doing it. Or get someone else to do it. Liana would do it. You know what I mean? Or going and telling Shan the information. That's not as easy as it looks to go and pull the trigger and actually out your alliance's blind side and stuff like that. But that's like her strategic game paled in comparison to her ability in the challenges. I think she got the reverse edit that Shan got. I think Shan got a fantastic edit this season, which is great, well-deserved. I feel like Liana's edit in the challenges really could have been much more dominant instead of the Heather show and whatnot. But it is what.
Yeah,
it
I
is.
do appreciate that she didn't play a scared game, like you said, Robbie. Like she was willing to make moves, even if they didn't work out in her favor. At least she
Right.
wasn't sitting back and, trying to hide behind people. Because that's boring as hell.
Yep.
But yeah, she definitely shined in the physical. But again, the fact that she was willing to try to make moves is huge. So I do think age comes into factor. I mean, Xander's very young though, and I feel like he's made some pretty outstanding moves. But I do think that her coming in later on down the road with more life experience and seeing that although she does connect with Shan on a really deep level, like maybe she isn't the best thing for her game. Because, you can be close with someone in a game and still realize that they're not your end game.
Yeah. Shan even gave away her advantage. Don't forget about that.
That was
Unless
the
it's
worst.
me,
I
right,
can't
Denny?
forget about that.
No, don't
That's
forget
the
about
worst
that.
part.
Frank.
That's the worst part. Shan tanked her game long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so who do we think is going to be here next week? It's about to wrap up. It's final 6 now. We got the final 6 episode and then our final. But who do we think is going to not make it final 5?
I'm really scared based off the scene that they showed us for next week, just because, correct me if I'm wrong, we hear Deshaun saying, oh, he flipped. And it makes it sound to me like Danny has shown a different side of himself that isn't a good look. And I'm hoping that that's not the case because I don't want Danny going out right now.
I think the previews were all red herring to try to look like Deshaun and Danny are breaking up, because I think they are going to try to make it look like they're breaking up, because they realize that they're both down in the numbers here and they got to separate to make it look like we could do something here. And I think that they end up getting Ricard.
Yeah,
I
I
hope you're
do
wrong.
think that Deshaun would. I do think that Deshaun would split from Danny though if it meant him getting a step further. I don't know that Danny would step away from Deshaun. I just don't want it to be either one of them, man.
My thing is, I wouldn't be surprised now if Ricard, everything Ricard has touched, he's been able to make it what he wants. He's been able to pull whatever strings so far in this game, and I'm wondering if that's going to go to his head. And it would be the perfect episode to try to convince Xander that he's not going and try to get him out and flush the idol. That's a huge threat. And I think what it might come down to, which I really hope it does, because these episodes get more and more exciting as we go. I hope it comes down to them trying to lie to Xander, and Xander busts out the idol, and whoever Xander picks goes. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping to happen.
We're not flushing the idol though. The idol's only good till 6, no? Or is it good to 5?
Is it good to 6 this season? It's usually 5, isn't it?
I thought it
Oh,
was
is it
5.
usually 5? Oh, then it's 5. Then they're trying to flush it. I got orgs and what's it called? Mix in my brain. A lot of orgs until 6.
But
My bad.
But
It's hard
yeah,
to keep up with this season too.
I haven't had enough Xander, so I don't know. I get a feel like either one of the duos is going home. I think it's either going to be Danny or Heather, but I think it's going to come down to whoever Xander picks. And I think he's more.
You don't think the two groups work together to get out like Ricard? That's where I'm thinking, because I think you go back to tribal, right? Liana's gone. I think Erica has questions about the extra vote being played. Like, why did you play an extra vote?
It's almost like that puts a big target on Xander. Almost like they should get him out.
Well, I think Xander or Ricard. I think either one. I think they're obviously working in tandem, and so I think Erica's like, you didn't trust that I was going to vote with you guys, and they're like, well, we didn't know, and I think that's when Deshaun and Danny are like, hey, remember how great Luvu was, guys? Remember that? Remember how great that was?
Yeah.
Let's get that back.
Maybe. I think Ricard and Xander are too slick. I think they're going to play it, but We'll see.
Yeah,
think
they're
they're
two of the
slick, don't get me wrong.
smoothest players in the game.
Yeah, I think those
the
two
way
together-
they execute
Relax.
moves is smooth.
Jesus, Frank, relax. Get off their dicks.
Well, I wasn't a Xander fan. Xander has been someone that's grown on me, and because I have to apologize because I was like, oh, this kid ain't gonna be able to do shit, and he comes out here and he's smooth as fuck. And then you have Ricard, who, I mean, he's got the salt and pepper hair, so I love it. He's a villain, so I love it. Like, I'm in love with Ricard. Yes, that's true. And Xander's growing me a lot, but I think they're I think with the twos, they're in a decent spot because they've got the history with it. They've been working. They built a little trust with Erica and Heather. And as long as Erica doesn't try to initiate something with Danny and Ricard, I think they're fine. I'm hoping that Deshawn is like starts getting nervous and overplays, and then you see Danny find out that maybe Deshawn knows that they're going to work together, so he tries to get Danny to be the target, so it's not him. I'm hoping that that's what happens. That way Danny will be safe, and they'll vote out Deshawn. Or I think that you could see Danny try to build that relationship that he's got with Xander, and then that might be a 4 voting block, and they go after Erica this round. I
think it obviously depends who wins too.
Yeah. I think it's Deshawn, Erica, or
Ricard. Just say it.
Ricard.
It's going to be Ricard.
But I could also see it being that's the duo that it's hard for me because they could if they say it's Ricard, then Xander, it could be Xander if he doesn't play his idol because they might actually be trying to get that idol out. But are you even worried about that idol at this point?
If you're
with
Ricard
next to him,
if you're Ricard or Xander, and you somehow agree to vote the other one out, then what you're putting yourself in is a position to be the third wheel with one of those two groups, and you're putting all of your faith in those other two. You have zero power at that point. You know
I don't think they split up.
Whoever stays out of the duos is in a fantastic spot.
Not if you're Xander. Not if you're Xander, right?
Yeah.
Not if you're Xander. If you're Xander, you agree with them, then you vote with them. They don't come for you. You don't play your idol, and then now you're safe at 5, and you're in the final 4. If you're Ricard, you're right. You're the third wheel. It's murkier. But for Xander, I'm agreeing
with other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to be the third wheel, I think.
Not when you're a huge target, though, Frank. You're a huge target.
Correct.
Man. Both of them are massive targets. They're fucked.
But if Xander goes,
they need each other.
If Xander or Ricard goes here,
Yeah.
then you have 2 really tight duos. You think those duos are going to turn on each other? No, they're going to be pulling for that third vote to secure something, I think.
Yeah.
Well, you go to Final 4, you build fire. What are you talking about?
Oh, it's Final 4. Yeah, fair enough. Final 4. Yep.
You go to Final 4. Those two groups get back together. That's what I'm getting at. Those two groups get back together.
If there's fire making and if it's not Final 2. We don't
You assume it's fire making.
Yeah.
No, you're right. No, you're assuming.
I think it's going to be a final 2.
I don't think
I
it's
think
it's Final
so,
2. I think it's Final 2 for sure.
It's probably a Final 2. I think, though, I feel like you're really pulling for Ricard here. I don't know how Ricard gets there because Ricard is very obviously the biggest threat because Shan was the biggest threat and Ricard took out Shan. So, and then Shan also said, I'm giving you $1 million. So she said that she respected you taking her out and she's the one that was the biggest threat going into this. I don't know how you don't feel like you as a player don't feel like that Ricard is the biggest threat to win this game right now.
Yeah. But I also think he has a really good shot at winning immunity too.
I was just about
that's
to say,
another
I'm pretty
reason
sure-
why I think that.
In Shan's episode, he won individually. He won the reward individually. He won immunity. And was he the second last to go out in this one? Was it down to him and Danny?
They went about the same time. Him and Xander dropped it about the same time.
I also think that if Xander wins, he's another likely person to win. And I think if he wins, there's a chance that he dictates the vote and plays his idol on Ricard.
No, he keeps it.
He's
If
not,
it's good to Final 5,
he has never played. Listen, he's not saving Ricard with his idol. He's not saving nobody but himself with that idol. No one.
I think he just wants to. I think he's a good enough player, smart enough player that he just wants to play it right and play it as a resume move.
But if he has immunity, if he has immunity, then you use it at 5 and you're in 4.
I could see him using it to save someone like Erica or Heather and get Ricard out. Like, that would be a hell of a move. Like, if you could use it, I would rather keep it and be safe at 5, right? But if you could somehow use it huge resume move to play it right. He knows where the votes are going. Save somebody who you know you can beat in the end and get out a big threat. I could see that being a Xander move, and I think he would pull the trigger on that if it fell.
I would put more money on that than I would for him to save Ricard. I would bet more money on that.
Yeah, I think Frank's
that strategy.
Yeah, I don't think he saves Ricard.
Yeah. even Denny's like, sorry, Frank.
If I'm him, I don't want Ricard going anywhere. I don't.
What?
Well, I don't want to sit next to Ricard.
If I'm him, no, I don't want to sit next to Ricard. But if Ricard's gone, he's the next biggest threat. And playing games, being a threat, I know how that feels, and it's nice to have it.
There's
and
five.
If you're Xander,
Frank, there's five.
Huh?
We're at five. We're at five at that point.
Yeah, would you be at 5?
Yes, but I'm saying I think that he will make the best move. I don't think he's going to act out of fear of sitting next to Ricard, because I think he probably, like us, thinks it's going to be a final 2. And if it's a final 2, it's probably going to have endurance stand on something for longer than anyone else. And I think Xander feels like he can win that and then take Heather to the end, or Erica, whoever he wants.
But
that's where I think his head would be at.
Ourselves here, like the amount of possibilities that are going to be entertaining as well. I gotta be honest. There was a couple of episodes this season where I'm like, man, I hope the strategizing picks up, and I hope the possibilities pick up. And the last 2 or 3 episodes have been getting better and better and better. Some people can bitch about the twists, whatever. I love it. I love the speech at the end. I love everything that's happened so far.
I like this twist.
You know what? And I think they're ending strong in the season. I'm loving it.
Yep. All right. I think that about wraps it up. Do you guys got anything to say about those players that we were covering tonight? Because I think we pretty much covered it all. We got our predictions for next week, and I love that we don't all agree. That's always fun. Do you guys have anything you want to plug before we call it a night?
Yeah, check out the Top 5 Go podcast. Also, check out DCOM After Dark. We have a new episode coming up next week where we're going to be talking about 'Twas the Night, which was a Christmas movie from Disney Channel original movie that starred Bryan Cranston, and they had to deliver presents for Saint Nick. It was great. Listen to that.
That's as great as it can get for Christmas. Bah humbug. I'm the Grinch.
Of course.
Not surprised. Not surprised.
Well, do you guys have anything happening right now? No,
Nada.
I don't think I do either. We did just have our game night gauntlet. It was our first original mini that we did. I thought it was successful. It was fun. Robbie actually ended up winning.
Shocker.
Oh,
Shocker.
Robbie, did you vote me out?
Did I vote you out? I would never vote you out, man. You're crazy.
I can go back and look through everything. I think
this guy. I mean, it made sense. I won a bunch of the games. It was.
No, okay.
You were on a heavy winning streak, so we might do another one of those in the future. I thought it was a lot of fun, and it was a mini that was actually under 3 hours. So I was very happy that it was under 3 hours.
I had a blast.
I don't know how many times I've been told, oh, this mini will be under 3. It'll be about 3 hours, and then I'm there 14 hours, like sweat stain on the couch from sitting there all night. So yeah, but we'll be back next week to do another episode of this. We got the recap coming up right after this. I don't think I even get a bathroom break unless Kylie's feeling nice. But please like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.
Oh, stick around. I'll be on the recap.
Yeah.
Stick around.